good morning, everybody. Thanks a lot for coming along. This is the sort of the next session of this ongoing work that we're doing around cost of living and supporting you through this this difficult journey of the winter and the ongoing cost of living crisis. And we've done a couple of webinars already, done a blog post. I think some of that information was sent around beforehand. This was just an opportunity really to explore some of those things that came up in those sessions in a little bit more detail. And sort of the general purpose of today is just to provide a bit of a space for you to talk to each other more than anything else. Around some of those tensions that you're experiencing between the sort of the broader role of a food partnership of sort of transformational aspirations and addressing some of the underlying causes of food insecurity, whilst also, of course, being under significant pressure to respond to the immediate crises and to deal with the food insecurity challenges that we face and the food poverty challenges that we face. So what we're going to do today is Sophia is just going to go ahead from Sustain is just going to go ahead and give us a bit of a background to what we've done so far in this sort of cost of living work. Also, just to introduce my colleagues actually. So myself, I'm Callum. Those of you that don't know me from Food Matters, part of the SFP team, and I'm here today with Chris from Soil Association, Sophia from Sustain, and my colleague Esther from Food Matters, and we're all just going to be helping out with a bit of the facilitation stuff today. So part of the reason for having this chat as well was a really interesting conversation that I had with a coordinator from London who explained the situation really well to me, and it sort of really sparked it really resonated with me in that the challenge that he felt was that he's forever putting out fires, that his work has suddenly all become about jumping from one hurdle to the next. And he was expressing frustration that he felt like he's never able to actually address the root cause of the fire to begin with, and to address some of those sort of underlying structural challenges. And that he felt desperately like he wanted to be able to lift his eyes up to the horizon, to be able to see that bigger picture, and to address some of those longer term changes. And he talked about his framing in terms of looking at the immediate crises in ways that also can help address some of those longer term challenges that we face, and thinking about the ways that we respond to crisis in ways that also simultaneously address some of those longer term challenges, longer term concerns. But of course, that's very aspirational, and in the context of limited resources and limited time, inevitably that tension is, from what I understand, talking to a lot of you, is very real and a very ongoing challenge, and can be quite frustrating. So we're just going to provide a bit of a space to explore that today. We've got a little bit of a quick Menti question just to get a bit of a sense check with where you're up to. And then we've got some breakout groups and some sort of questions to explore in those spaces. This is obviously, it's only an hour-long webinar today, so we haven't got a lot of time together. So a lot of this is going to be introducing some of these broader questions that we're going to go ahead and explore in more detail in the conference, and then there's likely going to be a much longer, possibly afternoon or day session when we explore this in greater detail. Great. So I think I'll hand over to my colleague Sophia, who's just going to run us through some of the background stuff. Sophia, over to you.
Thank you, Callum. Good morning, everyone. Good to see some familiar faces and some new faces as well. So I'm going to very quickly provide a background of what we've learned at the previous webinar on cost of living we organized in November last year, and the case studies that I've been producing with the help from many of you. So if you remember, those that are here that were that participated in that webinar back in November, we asked a few questions that I think would be interesting to recap the answers here. So we asked you if you are taking action at the national level, because this is seen as a lot of food partnerships are feeling that actually a lot of the driving forces behind what we're seeing at a local level cannot just be sorted at a local level. It needs to happen at a national level. And that's precisely what these results reflect. So 43% of those that replied are already taking action at a national level. This might be speaking to your MP, it might be writing open letters to government, etc. But the majority.
Sorry to interrupt. Just to mention, I don't see it moving through the slides. I don't know if that's a problem just for me or for others, but it seems to be stuck on the first slide.
That's because I haven't moved it yet.
Okay. My apologies.
Yes, but the majority of you are still feeling that you are not taking action at a national level, but you would like to do so with the right support. So maybe this is the start of that conversation in terms of what we can do together. We also asked what support from the program would be most useful. And 82% of responses said briefings, blogs, outlining good practice. So after each webinar, we have been writing a blog. We have been doing case studies of action by food partnerships. So I hope this starts to go some way to meet this. The other thing you pointed out was you would appreciate spaces for discussion with other food partnerships. So again, we're having this meeting today. We'll continue the conversation at the annual conference, and let's see what else we can provide after. And the other responses in terms of what would be useful from the SFP program are things like template letters to MPs and ministers and more public webinars, which we haven't provided yet, but it might be something we consider in the future. We also asked food partnerships at the webinar, what is the role of food partnerships? So
Sophia, sorry to jump in again. It does seem to be stuck on your sort of desktop layout. It's not going into the slideshow, just to let you know. It looks like we've got a spinning circle saying that it looks like it might have been frozen. Are you able to unshare and then reshare your screen? Maybe there you go. That's it. Perfect.
Is it working now?
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, all right. I was just fiddling with buttons. So in terms of your responses to what is the role of food partnerships in all of this, I think what came through is the particular focus on collaboration, on connecting the dots, on coordination, seeing the bigger picture and taking a whole systems approach to food. And I think we know this is what food partnerships do really well. And I will finalize with kind of themes that keep popping up in the discussions and the case studies that I've been compiling. And by no means this is an exhausting list, but I thought it would be a good start of the conversation. So I think we all realize the cost of living is not a new phenomenon. It's the consequence of real term cuts to benefits and wages. And this has been going on for a number of years. It's not new. And it started pre-pandemic. We've seen a deepening of poverty among especially lone parents, families, large families, disabled people, those out of work. And this has been worsening off during COVID, and it also impacts those on work. It's not exclusively a problem of those that are out of work. And this is compounded for us, for our movement, by a very challenging funding landscape and the shortage of food surplus. And I keep hearing this over and over again. There were lots of different funds during COVID, including from SFP, that are now drying up, and a lot of the funding available is actually going to emergency food provision, which is not what we would like to see. A lot of the response is actually building up on existing work and structures and infrastructure setting up during COVID. So this might be a positive. And food partnerships in one way or another are trying to change this narrative at a local and national level, and looking for solutions that go beyond the food bank, that go beyond just emergency food provision. A lot of you are also emphasizing the importance of a cash-first approach, dignified support. So looking to provide people with money first as the first point of call, rather than emergency food and in-kind support, and making this an effective and dignified form of support. And at a local level, there are strong partnerships between council and local partners, and food partnerships are often the vehicle that links the two. So there are multiple delivery partners at a local level, but the coordination is often done by the food partnership or the Food Poverty Alliance. And we are seeing strategies from many of you and innovation to diversify funding, food and donations. And I think you are all striving to move away from emergency food support towards more dignified, sustainable forms of support. So we've seen an emergency of other models that go beyond the food bank, for example, food pantries that are run on membership schemes, social and community supermarkets, community larders, community fridges, community kitchens. I'm still to see an area where this transition towards new forms of providing support that tie up with things like financial advice and other forms of support is not taking place. And finally, I alluded to aspects of innovation happening across the network. We've seen many new novels of fundraising, like Christmas appeals in the run-up to the Christmas period, grower projects, partnerships with farmers, wholesalers at a local level to diversify sources of food and funding. Also, a lot of local campaigns going on, for example, to increase the uptake of Healthy Start with the participation of various stakeholders at a local level. But overall, I think a lot of food partnerships are trying to move away from just putting the fires and looking at wider food system transformation. And I think we've seen a flurry of food strategies being prepared and launched at a local level. I mean, just yesterday, Devon launched theirs, and Leeds finished the consultation in December. Birmingham will publish their food strategy in May. 10 plus London boroughs are working on food strategies, etc. And finally, the realization that solutions doesn't happen only at a local level, but need wider systems change and change of policy at a national level. And just a reminder that these case studies that I've alluded to, and thank you so much to those that are here. I've spotted Ruby and Nancy from East Sussex, for example. Thank you so much for speaking to us, for providing us with your examples. They're being published at the SFP website, and I'll drop a link to the website where they're being published. They're great resources. The food power pages, even though they're archived, we keep posting new resources there, so always worth to keep an eye on those. And finally, just a reminder that the local government association does have a cost of living hub with a section on food and a monthly bulletin with information from local authorities. So I'll drop all these links into the chat, because I think they're all useful resources. Thank you all. Thank you, Callum.